There we go.
Here we
Hello.
are. Hello, hello, my friend Julia Sotas. Here we are live on the Mr. Christopher show. Now, this show hasn't been on for a while, but you got one yesterday and you're getting one today. So how did you get so lucky? Here we are. Julia Sotas coming to us live from the United States of America, but she's actually a fellow Canadian by birth, just like me, a transplant. How are you today, Julia?
I'm great. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited for the weekend because I get to spend the weekend with you coming up and lots of good stuff in the air.
Yeah, me too. How does it? And I'm very excited. So I haven't facilitated a class for about a month, which is a bit of a break for me. I've had a moment to chill because I have lots of different businesses in my life, and a few of them in particular really required some energy and attention. So that was where my energy was. And business really is one of my absolute favorite topics or things to look at and play with, because to me, business is all about creation and creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
before we got on this live, you were talking a little bit about creation.
yeah, well, I was talking about, and I'll just be personal about my own life here. I was talking about creation. And I was listening to, actually, it was a while ago I was listening to this, but it was an audio by Shannon O'Hara. And she was talking about creation and how, like, well-rounded you have to be as a being to truly create and what that really requires and how robust you have to be and in an energetic sense. And so I was thinking about that, and one of the things that she said was you have to be able to receive the the greatness of your creation, the greatness of your own, of your creation, the money of your creation. You have to be able to receive the result that you create, whether you're selling flowers or you're selling antiques or you're selling consciousness or whatever you're doing. And so there's, if in order to really sustain and move forward and flourish and grow, there has to be this ability to receive. And and so I just thought that was so interesting, and it's something I've been like really digging and unpacking in my own life and looking at where I haven't been willing to receive and where I have. And so, and where I've worked against myself and where I've worked for myself. And so I was wanting to talk to you today about sort of that robustness that is needed to truly create, to receive what you do create, and to allow that. That's the only way you can grow, is through receiving. The business can only grow through receiving. So I just think it's such an interesting sort of deep way of digging into business.
Okay, but hang on a minute. I'm going to back you up a little bit because I love everything you're talking about, but for some of our listeners out there where they're going, what do you mean receive?
Oh, yes.
So I just want to unpack that for people. So receiving, the way we look at receiving in terms of consciousness and through the courses of access consciousness is receiving is not the stuff you get. It is not the money that you have in your life. It is not the opportunities that come your way. That's what a lot of people think receiving is. They think, wow, this person's really willing to receive because they have so many good things happening. No, the good things that occur in your life are based on your choices. And choice is that probably the beginning part of actual creation that we're talking about. But with the receiving thing that Julia here is talking about, receiving to me is just being totally present for everything around you, everything that is coming in. It's like taking a moment and stepping out into the forest or in amongst nature and just breathing it all in and being there for what is, rather than sort of lost in your mind and preoccupied with what you think you have to get done for the day and your to-do list and what's nagging you and what's bothering you and all of that stuff. It's actually going, no, hang on. What's actually here right now that I can enjoy and allow to nourish me and take a moment and be with? That's what receiving actually is. It's being present with everything and
Beautiful.
allowing it in. And that does require what you were talking about. Receiving does require taking a moment and being really present with you and going, hey, actually, I'm pretty freaking magical.
Totally. Thank you for saying it that way, because that is such a simple description, but it's also such a far-reaching description. And that's something that I think, I mean, I know a lot of people. I recently went to a family reunion and it was interesting because I hadn't seen my family in a really, really long time, especially these family members. And one of the things, and I love my family. They're super cool and usually we have a great time. And but one of the things I noticed was that that nobody could receive. There was no, a compliment would be deflected, or an acknowledgement would go totally unnoticed, or things like that. And I went, wow, that's just so interesting that in the world, receiving, noticing things, getting the greatness of things, and it wasn't just there. I was just noticing. I went, oh, that's too bad. That's so interesting that that can't exist in the world. And it is just such a difference to receive. It's a mysterious, very powerful element in the world.
Mm, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just being present for what is and really experiencing it. Like you're saying about those compliments, you give your family member a compliment, and it's almost as though they think if they actually just received it or just allowed that compliment to be, they would have to do something or it would mean something. But that true receiving doesn't actually require you to do anything. Just receive it. Just be present with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So
So,
how does that play into creation is the next sort of step, I think, in this conversation.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would love to sort of put that back to you because I I think that um I think that that's something that I see you do a lot is one of the things that I notice too is um when you're facilitating, like a lot of people will tend to talk really, really fast and just go really, really fast. And I notice that you'll sort of relax into it and pause and really listen to people and really take things in a different way. And like to me that's another form of receiving. Like so you even receive as you're facilitating. And so and that's just one example, but like I would love to hear a little bit more about some examples of how you receive or how people listening could sort of start to put this sort of broad tool into practice in business.
Yeah. Well, it applies to business and everywhere. Okay, so my target in life, or the thing that I think is most, I'd like to say valuable, but it's not really valuable. It's like the thing that gives me the most joy, that allows me to really relish in my life the most and live rather than just have a life,
Yeah.
is this sense of being really present for everything, like actually really receiving everything,
Mm.
but also allowing me out into the world to play so that you're there being present with everything and letting it in, but at the same time letting you out so that it's sort of in equal measure. You are a partner with the world around you and everything that gets created. Is this making
Beautiful.
sense? So when I'm facilitating, it's as much about what I deliver as what comes in.
It's very different.
Yeah, it's some people think when they're delivering a seminar or a class, or they're the one being the active participant in their life, even in bed sexually, they think their job is just to give, 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 and everything is going out. But when it's really fun, it's a play. where there's as much going out as there is coming in. And that can change at different times. You know, like when you're having a great conversation with somebody, a great conversation is when you're actually being present for the person and we're listening to one another and receiving from one another. And listening and receiving are not the same things. And what they're actually being energetically are totally different things.
Yeah.
But you're doing that, and you're also an active part in the computation. So to me, if you're going to create anything, you have a partner in the universe and all the energies available around you to create whatever it is that you would like to create.
The energy that you're being right now and what you're showing, like you're saying it, but you're also showing it energetically. And it's really just folks really take this in. Listen, like this is one to listen. I mean I'm going to go back and listen again. It's really, you're actually inviting people to a deeper, greater world. I don't know if deeper is the word, but something to live into everything in a greater way.
And it is with I know a lot of people don't feel like they're living in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, and they might be busy. Maybe they've got, you know, things going on. They've got a job and they've got a family, or not even that much. What's becoming quite apparent to me is that a lot of people actually don't have many people in their lives. There's a great deal of people out there that are really quite lonely. It doesn't matter though if you're really living and enjoying yourself no matter what. And I love the way you said it, living in your life and living in each moment.
Yeah.
And you can do that with business too. Business is one of these funny areas where we think, oh yes, all of this stuff over here, we're talking about energy and receiving, and that's all lovely, but business is the real world. So we need to leave all that behind, and now we get serious and do business. And that's not how I see it. I've created success and created business. And hang on a minute. Stop worrying yourself about creating success. If you're doing business to create success, you might want to have a look at that. You know, the success that people obsess about with business is usually about validating themselves in some way, telling yourself that you're obviously talented or have value because, look, see, I proved it, I created success. I tell people all the time, please do not come to a business class with me because I've created success in business. That is not why I am someone you should listen to. Because if you do that, you're doing that because you think I've got an answer.
Yeah.
It's like going to a money class with someone with money. There's the rightness of money. But my question is, do they have the possibilities of wealth?
Chris, can you expand on that just slightly?
Yeah, well, you know, how many products out there and facilitators out there, not necessarily access-based, but all over, where they're rich and they've made a lot of money. And so we think, well, they must have something. They must know what they're talking about. And so let's go to their class about being rich. And we make them right because of the money they have. But do they actually do they embody an energy of wealth? Do they live in their life and enjoy what they have and actually be something different? Or are they just right because they've got money? And when I say be something different with money, what I mean is, you know, the way Gary Douglas puts it is a wealthy person can take the bus, a bicycle, a boat, walk, drive. They look at all the different possibilities of how to get where it is they would like to go. A rich person has to fly first class.
Yeah.
The wealth is what would be fun and what would create the greatest. What will facilitate the most awareness? rather than the rightness of, oh, I must fly in a private jet.
Mm-hmm. That's so nice. You know, it's so anti-mame.
It is. I watched that movie the other night and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Gosh, that's good. It's
Mm.
for those of you who are watching, it's Anti-Mame with Rosalind Russell from I think 1950 or the 1950s, but it's the one with Rosalind Russell, and it's really quite a treat on how to live. She says, "Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
wealth. That's what Chris is talking about.
Mm.
That's wealth.
I
Wow.
want to read. I read this on something else. Just want to read for the hell of it because I don't know how it's related, but who cares? And it's a lady on Instagram called Joy Clarkson, and she said, "You are not a machine. You are more like a garden. You need different things on different days. A little sun today, a little less water tomorrow. You will have fallow and fruitful seasons. It is not a design flaw. It is wiser than perpetual sameness. What does your garden need today?" And that's how I see business too. To me, business is like waking up in the morning and grabbing your cup of coffee or whatever and having a walk through the garden and going, how's everybody doing? What do you need today? Oh, you don't like that spot? We'll move you. Oh, you need more sun? Great. And not from trying to find the problems or looking for the complaints, but just seeing what's required to have an even greater reality and greater possibility. And if you take that attitude to your business, you can constantly scale it into something greater.
Right.
I look
Right.
like someone's beat me up. I've got bruises all over. Oh, you can't see them.
No, I can't see.
I had an argument with an armoire building it the other day.
Oh God.
Well, it said it was a two-man job to build it, and I, being the stubborn person I am, went, I can do this on my own. Turns out it was a two-man job.
I'm glad you came out with nothing more like with your head still on.
I did.
That's good. Oh, wow. Well, that poem about the with the garden, it really says it all because it really is about that whole poem is about receiving. And that puts perfectly into a nutshell what we're talking about in this conversation with receiving. And it's such a there's so much more of a peaceful, relaxing possibility that actually works too and moves your life forward and allows things to grow and get greater. And it's a life that works rather than a life that is a utensil or a tool or a marching in a line, a machine, as she said.
Yeah. And if you like, you can create a business that works the same way.
Wow. That's quite an invitation. And that's very different. This is a very different invitation because this isn't really something you see people talking about anywhere else.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Well,
tomorrow we start a class called Business.
done different.
Dun,
Yes.
dun, dun.
And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said I get to spend the weekend with Chris, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's 4 days, and you can ask Chris anything that you want. You have full access. You can take yourself off mute and ask your questions and have really, really different conversations. And we can go anywhere that we want to in this class. And is inviting us on the journey.
And doing this class actually now is a prerequisite to being a facilitator of access consciousness. So that's good to know. And if you're a bars facilitator out there, doing this class counts for renewing your bars facilitation license.
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, we cover a multitude of topics about business systems, but also about the energies required to create a business. So
Yes.
from
Oh,
the
go ahead.
choice and creation that we started talking about with this conversation to so much more.
Yeah, the choice and the creation. And I wanted to mention also that the class has a really robust manual that you're going to receive.
Mm.
A fantastic manual.
Yes, it does. And we will get through all of it in the 4 days that we do it. So it's online, yeah, and it's 4 days, but 3 to 4 hours per day. So we will get through all of it in those 4 days.
Wonderful. And I'll be there. If you guys have questions, you can contact me. I'll be hosting and helping with the class. So let
And
me know.
we have it translated simultaneously as well into Arabic, Spanish, Mandarin for people in Taiwan, and German.
Fantastic. Wow. 4 languages. That's great.
Mm. So thank you so much, Miss Sotas. I have a wonderful time, and you have Halloween coming up. What do you have a costume?
Yeah. I'm going to be a cat this year. I just felt like being a little black kitty. Meow.
Halloween hasn't really caught on in Australia. It's a bit like they
Yeah.
don't really get it.
Yeah. I've heard that. That's too bad because it's pretty fun.
It's a pretty wonderful holiday, really. Any excuse to dress up and eat candy. What's not to love?
Exactly.
All right, my
So
dear.
we'll have a Halloween business done different, and we invite you all to play. And thank you for this. We need to post this many different places. We'll get that out because this is
Spread it far and
beautiful.
wide.
Exactly. It's an amazing conversation. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.